So I'm here again with Francis Zhu, and today we were feeling to join around the topic of letting go of shame around the body, around bodies. Thank you so much for joining me, Francis.
Thank you, Colin, for having me.
I feel like I want to start with I'm kind of getting an image of, I remember when I was probably about 15 actually, and this continued on from, I used to play a lot of, growing up in Australia, I played a lot of sport, which was very common for Australians, and from an age of about 15, I was playing a sport. I was playing hockey with people, men, much older than me, and one of the things, like after all the matches and after all the trainings, one of the things that basically everyone did was shower, and we showered together, and I can remember just this. It kind of feels like something that permeates the culture that I grew up in. I can't really speak for other cultures, but just this idea of like a fear of what exposing the body, or and I guess like being, if you like, or seemingly being a man in this world, the fear that seems to occupy. I know it's been something that's been on my mind, lots of times over the years, and it feels like it's not completely washed. Is the idea of a concern about, like, say, penis and exposing, and it's like, and almost like this fear of like somehow that is a symbol of what I am, and even how much of a man I am, one of the things, and this is kind of where I want to go a bit with this, Francis, is that in all those years, and I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, literally, when this kind of, like, this was like 2-3 times a week I would be involved in these activities, okay? And not once did I ever speak about any of this, and not once did I remember anyone ever speaking openly about, about these kind of thoughts. It was like they were kept hidden, and I think my question feels like if I put a name on the emotion, it feels like shame. It feels like a sense of shame. And guilt feels like shame if I was going to label it. And I was wondering if you could just share anything that comes to you around that area of bodily shame, and how if there's any experiences yourself that might just shed some light on that, and even how, what has helped in the washing, or has that been washed? Or because my feeling with this is that it's the ego would love us to think that, I'm the only one that thinks this way, but my feeling is it's almost like it's rife throughout the human mind, if you like, that we have a lot of these hidden thoughts around bodies and around sexuality. So, over to you, Francis.
Yeah, I have experienced those thoughts and emotions, and I know that a lot of people also share those thoughts and feelings. And it's just been very like a journey of gradually, like you said, letting go of any kind of attachment to the body. And I actually feel like we are going to talk about shame, but it's almost applies to the other side of it, which is pride as well. And people tend to think one is better than the other, especially when I feel like I don't really like the way that my body looks or is, I would like to get to the other side. I want to be proud of it. I want to fix it or feel better about it. But what is hard to see is actually pride about the body or shame about the body is actually the same thing. And for myself, I went through periods of time where all this shame and embarrassment and judgment, attack thoughts were hidden. The hiddenness of it actually made it very real to me. I never questioned it, and just always felt small, and I just feel like really embarrassed every time these thoughts come up, and then I always feel other people see me the same way that I see myself. And gradually, when I started to practice no private thoughts and other practical applications of the course, I started to really look at those thoughts and also started to express them in different contexts, sometimes in a very, very intimate and safe little group that has this purpose of healing. And there are certain times that I noticed the thoughts were very present and strong, the emotion was strong. Then I actually shared a few times. And also I shared those, thoughts or embarrassment in a relationship, because they almost feel more intense when I get into a relationship, because I feel more exposed. But I can tell you, my actual experience is that expressing it didn't really go anywhere. And that's the one aspect during my healing process that I realized that expressing it does not go anywhere. What I'm trying to say is, for example, if the attack thoughts or judgment is around a situation or a person, and there was this desire to see it differently, and I would express it, a lot of the times a new perspective will come in, and I could actually feel instant release, instant lightness after not carrying this heaviness with me. But just with this one area, like all this judgment of my body, I noticed however I express it, there has never really been any kind of release through expression. And it actually, in my own experience, it drove me to a place where there was sheer devastation, actually, because I noticed that at the beginning when I share those thoughts, sometimes people will tell me, that's not true, or you don't be silly, or like they will confirm that it's not the way that they see me. But experientially, it almost like whatever other people say just didn't count at all to me, experientially. And then I also went through, later on, like a phase where maybe it was through my invitation, people stopped even telling me it's okay, it's all good. And it's just really, after I express it, there's no disagreement. It just feels really, really intense for me, and it pushed me to a place that I really have to, because what this is actually a major approval-seeking thing, wanting the desire for the body to be anyway, the desire to look good or to be beautiful, or the desire to have the body to be in any way, unless this is actually affecting your normal functionality in life. Any kind of desire of or dissatisfaction, in the end, a lot of it is driven by this desire to get approval from external world. And when the external world stopped approving me, it actually was really good, because it left me in this place where I just realized there is no way I could find any satisfaction from thinking that way. And I also didn't know how to change the way I think. And it just so much so that my mind actually paused around this area, like for the first time, probably after it realized there is nowhere to go, and in that place I actually saw clearly this world is built up to confirm my littleness. This whole world is not, the purpose of this whole world is not really to support me to find my light. It's not to say that, go for it, you're not this body, shine your light and find the love that you're truly looking for. No, the world is constantly saying that, the love, you find love from relationships, you find love from friendships, you find love when you're approved, and all this comparison, all these standards that is that's given to the bodies, and competition and comparison is just, I just actually realized, wow, I cannot find what I'm looking for in this world, and this world is not built for me to find myself, and this world is not built for me to feel this magnitude of who I am. And so that is just what I was going through, and came to this realization. But I would say what actually washed away this kind of, or the belief in this kind of thoughts, is through an actual experience that I continuously having through giving my body a new purpose. Jesus said in the Course that the ego's use of body is for pride, pleasure, and attack. So underneath all this judgment about the body, there is this desire for pride, to use the body for pride, or the desire to use the body for pleasure, or use the body for attack, So that is the ego's use of the body that's buried there. And as long as that is the purpose, that is, we follow the ego's use of the body, even if I don't have shame around my body at all, I have so much pride, I feel so good, it is still following the ego's use of the body, and the feeling, the experience of it is still small, and shame and fear. That's just inevitable. And when that experience is there, then you're just going to keep searching, keep competing, keep comparing, and keep projecting this fear or this shame onto something out there. If it is not body, something else. You're always going to feel small, and the purpose is never questioned. You're just caught in this loop. And then the body will get sick. The body will get old, because the body is used for the ego's purpose, and the sickness is the best weapon of the ego to prove that the body is small and is separated from God and is weak. And if you just keep following the ego's purpose of your whole life, this is what you see. Experientially, what really washed away is just this constant use for body for the spirit's purpose, which is communication. Communication is the spirit's use of the body. And what are we communicating? We're not just communicating through words or with mouth, even though that, in my experience, is a big part of what I'm doing now. But the body is to be just to be completely used by the Spirit to deliver miracles. Basically meaning that the body is to surrender to do whatever Spirit has it do, and to say whatever Spirit has to say, and to be in this state of forgiveness and not judging the words that's coming through, and not judging, anyone that is presented in front of it, not judging the use of the body by the Spirit. And that's, just through that, all these thoughts that was so sticky started to just become quite ridiculous, And I know that, the thoughts and all these stories, you can't drop them by stop thinking about them, because they don't have any existence if you don't keep thinking about them and keep grasping onto them. They don't even exist, right? But they will come back as long as for example, if you forget about a thought, you go to watch a movie for 2 hours, or you go to do something else for a few minutes or a few days, you could temporarily put those thoughts aside and you don't remember them, but they keep coming back because you have never experienced anything differently. Thinking that it's not like my body is wrong, really is I am wrong, who I am is wrong. And this feeling is the source that's feeding all these projections onto the body, onto the screen, onto anything else. And if that is you have never changed the purpose of the use of the body, you have never really merged with the Spirit to have fundamental shift of that who I am is not wrong, then those temporary whatever distractions or even the past, it will still come back. And the way that's like right now, even if you actively think about those thoughts, they don't really feel true. And there is no way that they're sticky anymore, because you transfer the purpose of the body so much that the experience becomes the reality. The experience that who you are is not this body becomes this reality. Then, the source of the projection actually is stopped. So all the stories and all the judgments and all the attempt to attack this body stop too.
It's cool. So sort of what I'm hearing you say is just the importance of purpose and using the body for a true purpose, which Spirit's purpose is communication, and the ego's is pride, pleasure, and attack. I feel like I was really interested in what you said earlier, that because I was actually interesting. I guess not surprising. Earlier this morning, I had the same thought or awareness. You were talking about that if someone is feeling a sense of shame around their body or pride, that they're actually the same thing. And I was just noticing that within myself, that there's sort of been occasions, and an example might be seeing myself photographed or on video or something, and at times there's this awareness or there's this thought of like, you look fat in that photograph and ugly, so the shame kind of feeling. And there might be another thought if a different photograph that maybe was from a different angle, or like, that one looks better, as if like the ego would want me to believe that that's somehow different, that is better. But what I'm hearing you say, and what I was noticing, I was experiencing that today, is like, they're exactly the same thing. It's just like a temptation to think that somehow, by working the body out and trimming the fat, there's something better about it. So a question, as you were talking, this question just came into my mind, and I never really thought about it before. I'd like you to just see what comes in for you around it. But like when you talked about that shift that's made, like the shift to the spirit of, the purpose of the Spirit, like I was just having this feeling that almost like this sense of, is it important to even get in touch with that shame? Because, like, even as a stepping stone, because, like, my sense is that pride, almost like, oh, my body, look at the good shape I'm in, and even as it starts to wither, it's important. I need to have this pride. I need to maybe have one of those stomach reducing operations or whatever, and like to keep that pride going. But it's almost like, is it helpful to actually get in touch with almost the flip side of that, the shame? Is that something that's actually going to help almost like bring us to our knees and springboard us into genuinely, making that shift in our mind? Because as long as that sense of pride is there, that it's like, oh, I'm good, I like the way I look, it's almost like nothing's going on. It's like I'm caught in...
Yeah, that is even more imprisoning. Like, to feel better about yourself, right, but still holding on to this body being your reality. Yeah, it's very imprisoning. You will become a slave, trying to maintain that. And I would say, like every time when a strong emotion or charge coming up, I would encourage anyone to not run away from it and just to really get in touch with it. Remove the story and the conclusion about what it is, but really dare to dive into what is coming up. Dare to merge with what is coming up. Because we can talk all the specific problems and solutions, but there is only one problem. Who I am. Who I am is wrong. This intrinsic feeling that who I am is wrong, that is the only problem. And so it's really by fully allowance and trusting that the spirit knows what to present and when the mind is ready for what. And so just trust that everything that is arising is not by accident and is just for you to experience it fully. On the other hand, when we talk specific problems, in my own experience, just by talking about it, crying about it, never changed the thought, the stickiness with these thoughts, belief of those thoughts truly were transformed by the actual experience of this spirit identity that I am, by really allow the spirit to move this body and allow the spirit to be in charge and allow the spirit to speak through and communicate through and perform miracles through this body, then that's the true confidence. And in that, I can tell you those thoughts just means nothing. How you look and what I look in a picture, it means absolutely nothing. There is something else that is so strong and present, and that is reality.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I'm hearing in what you're saying, like, 'cause it's almost like I recall having spiritual, mystical type experiences, even during a period in my life when I did not even embrace the idea of spirituality, or even would have said, yeah, I'm an atheist. Like there were experiences that actually occurred for me that were telling me that there was something beyond my perception of what was going on. Like I didn't necessarily talk to anyone about it, but I was having those experiences, and I'm just feeling, just in what you're saying, just as like it's almost like because one of the things I'm hearing you saying, which feels really practical and really helpful, is that it's of limited help, if any help at all, to keep talking about these, issues or problems, if you like, to go, it's like, let me talk again about, how bad I feel or how unworthy or how shameful. Like, and what feels more helpful is to start almost like this thought of, I think I heard it in what's that movie, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, where the kind of the mentor character says to the apprentice, if you like, he says, you need to start asking better questions. And I like that. It's kind of like, it almost feels like that idea that it's like, because in a way we're praying or we're asking questions all the time. And it's like, what are we asking? And what is it for? Am I asking, that I want to look good in front of others? Or am I asking things like, how can I really be of service? How can I really be helpful? And once I start to engage in that kind of asking true questions, then I'm going to be answered. And whether or not I'm seemingly even got a belief in God or not, it doesn't even matter, because it doesn't matter what we even call it. It's like somewhere it's actually, somewhere it is just opening the mind up to something greater than this limited, petty little self. Any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, if the original problem is that we feel this this separation and that there is something wrong with who I am, right? And then not able to see that and put just layers on top and project this wrongness onto this body and start to say that how can I feel better about this body, or like even further, like how can I fix this part or that part, and or how can I find love? It's like all these questions really are not real questions. They're affirmations, they're statements to reinforce the original question that there is something wrong with me, and
right.
But the wrongness happens at the level of form of this body. So this is the assumption, and then all the solution or the problem solving happens at that level. The solution is trying to come in at that level, and it just perpetuate everything. Then the temptation when we say, okay, the problem is not at that level, for spiritual seekers, the temptation is to say, okay, the problem is separation, so let's fix that. But that is an idea. That is not even something that we experience at a conscious level. That is not something that we can match with a fix, because the problem doesn't even exist. And yet, experientially, we feel that it exists. So it's a very paradoxical kind of situation. The only way we can reach that, the only way we can reach the depth of the real issue and see that the problem doesn't even exist, the only way to do that is through forgiveness, is through not really jumping in to solve the problem at the level of the problem. We don't need to keep searching, keep digging, and trying to define what is the true problem so that I can find a solution. We just need to remove all the conclusions and all the attempt to solve all these specific problems, or all the attempt to define all the problems, and then leave the mind to be open. Then we can see what the one problem truly is.
It's beautiful. I was hearing to actually ask or talk for a moment around A Course in Miracles, and it feels like you've led beautifully into that with, you talk about forgiveness there, and also even that the last bit that you said actually reminded me of lessons 79 and 80, which talk about, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved, and the movement towards seeing that every seeming problem is really just the one, and there's a way of seeing that literally that one problem of separation has already been solved. And but I wanted to just say a little bit for a moment around the Course in Miracles, and even how so many of the lessons are geared towards, especially those first 40 or so, are really geared towards undoing a lot of this identification, undoing with these false concepts. And And I have to say I've found many of them very helpful. But I want to just mention one that I feel I haven't necessarily found that helpful, and I've even sort of been around many other like course students that, you know, the idea I'm not a body, I am free. I feel like it gets tossed around. Even in this community I'm in, I hear people say, "Well, I know I'm not a body," and to be honest, I'm not sure I've ever actually found that to be helpful, particularly when it just sounds like it's this concept that's being thrown out. I don't feel that it actually even touches me at all. Could you just comment on that? Because, you know, we've started this talk around the idea of body, releasing, you know, thoughts. We're tying in the idea of, you know, shame, pride, seeing that they're the same thing. And like Jesus introduces a lesson. I'm not sure what number it is. It's well into the lessons, I know, but I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me. Could you talk around that and how, you know, that is to be used in a way that's helpful, and maybe how it can potentially be used by the ego? I really feel that, you know, obviously any idea can be misused, but that seems particular to be one that can be just misused. And it's like the idea that we use a bit in these communities is the idea of metaphysically ghosting, that we can actually take an idea and just use it to go over the top of not even really connecting authentically with what's actually going on for us. And even actually, to be honest, I've felt at times that some of these ideas can even be used to attack our brothers. You know, like there's no world, I'm not a body, you're not a body. And it's like, well, okay, I'm not sure if that actually feels helpful. Any thoughts around that, Francis?
It is an experience. All of those profound teachings from the Course, in the end, is pointing to an experience. And anything that is not an actual experience now, already, or if there is a gap between what seems to be the teaching from the Course and what I'm experiencing now, if there is a gap, it is actually most helpful to be very honest and say, this is where I'm at, and knowing like eventually all of those things that the Course is saying is all experiential. For example, even I need do nothing is an experience, is a profound insight. When that dawn on you, you know that I need do nothing. But a lot of the times there is a gap. What I observe is there is a gap. So I definitely still believe I'm a doer. I haven't really experienced that I'm just a puppet and I have absolutely no control of anything. Everything is involuntary, internal or external, are completely involuntarily happening. And so I am still the doer, is still held very firmly. And then to say I need do nothing becomes a concept or an idea in the mind, and the ego just try to match it and say, so okay, so that becomes a formula to get somewhere. So how do I do nothing? It becomes, okay, that is something I need to do, which is nothing. But that isn't really my experience. You know, I noticed all of those, I'm not a body, I'm free, I need do nothing, or, you know, all of that is actually an insight that comes effortlessly. It's actually not something you need to use as affirmation or as a formula to reach somewhere else. You just like all that we were really asked to do is to be authentic with where we're at and what is authentically coming up emotionally and in terms of thoughts, and to be watchful around that, and not really using any concept to either say that I would rather be there, or this is probably the formula that I need to apply, or use that as a way to see errors in other people. In a way that I notice that a lot, like when I give a talk to people who I don't really know, so the way that the message is delivered is very specific. When I say specific, I mean there are like so many ways to deliver the same message, because the message is abstract and you have to channel it to specific words. There's just so many ways, and somehow there is what you only use one way or maybe a few ways in one gathering to try to articulate this message that comes to me. It's inevitable that it's limited. I know that because when people work very closely with me, I know that there's always going to be very specific guidance or very specific suggestions that probably counter all these generic rules or formulas that we all think is true. I can give you an example. Like I have, just the other day, I gave an advice to a friend here to get more into stories, because I always suggest people to not get into stories and forgive the story, let go of the story, let go of conclusion. But with this particular friend, what I notice is just a lot of metaphysics, almost like I feel there is a fear of getting into specifics. There is a fear of talking specifically. There's a fear of getting into emotions. So whenever there's this emotion coming up, it's a straight away a metaphysic of what the mind is at and how it should get out of what it's experiencing. It's like getting into this formula mode and using metaphysics, and so that nothing experientially can be fully, allowed or experienced. And yeah, when she asked me for some advice, I can't believe what I said. I said, I want you to talk specifics, and I want you to give yourself permission to talk stories, and that is very, very individualized and very, very specific to, where the mind is at in that particular time. So I do agree with you, it's just not helpful to use any kind of metaphysical concept to block what is coming up and to give permissions. There's so much judgment, there's so much fear to allow the emotions or the light to come through. And we don't even know it unconsciously how frightened we are, and just use everything to attack that and to push it down.
That's beautiful. That's helpful. It's a couple of things I was hearing when you were talking. Like just the sense I got was that some of those deeper ideas, like let's say there is no world, I'm not a body, I need to do nothing. Any of those ideas, my sense is that they're more helpful for, it's like the idea of, okay, take the idea of like, there's only love, or, seeking, there's a part in the Course where Jesus does talk about the importance of setting a goal and setting a goal of truth. And it's like my sense of sometimes like having a goal, it's where it becomes helpful is that it literally will invite everything unlike that to rise to the surface. Mm-hmm. And it actually helps if there's a goal in place, then that can be, it can become simpler then to see what's in line with that goal and what's not, so you can see what to let go, and it brings the mind into a clearer focus. So that's, I don't know, I'm very open to hearing what you have to say around it, but I'm kind of getting the sense with some of those lessons that they can be used in that kind of way, and that's helpful. However, I don't feel that it's ever helpful to be teaching someone else, or seemingly, offering that kind of concept to someone else when it remains only a concept to the one who's actually saying it. I just don't know if it's ever helpful. The only time, and one of the things I'm remembering is that one of those recent talks we did where you shared about that beautiful, like powerful experience you had with Jason, where he actually delivered this kind of message, and he said to you, you have never been unhappy, but that was delivered from a place where he was fully in the experience and you received that. That's a totally different offering. And I don't know, could you say something around that? Because that's the sense I'm getting, that, you know, like, say, if I'm with David and he says something, it's almost like I feel my mind can link and actually join right where that is, in that, you know. But when it's just idle words that are empty, that don't have the experience behind them, to be honest, I just find it completely unhelpful. And,
Yeah. I think we actually really hear beyond words and hear a deeper message. That's why when those high metaphysics were talked about, and it came from a place of true experience, you actually can feel it. You can connect with it. But if the metaphysics were used really to cover up or to stop some emotions from coming up, or actually even just to try to figure out, like, I want to know what is going on with my mind, what is the ego doing, so that I can find a formula, and to talk in that way, in a very analytical way. In a way, you know, people can feel that it's not truly healing you. You know, you're not really allowing the mind to open up. It's still like focusing on parts and specifics and trying to figure something out so that the mind can be in control of the awakening process, control to be my own teacher, you know. Because we just hear what is truly delivered, where it's coming from, whether it's actually facilitating this dropping or this opening up, or it's really just using words for closing down and for more control or for more attack. That's what truly is delivered.
Exactly. It actually feels like it's, I mean, the Course is so clear about what does it say? There are only two emotions. You know, we tend to think there's a big range, but I'm pretty sure he says there's only two, love or fear. And later he says fear doesn't exist. So I guess in the sense, like in truth, there's only love, but that's not that helpful for the mind that believes and, you know, seemingly experiences all this other stuff. So if there's only the two emotions, love or fear, if you're not in the experience of love and you're trying to teach a very high metaphysical idea, then you must be coming from a place of fear. There's no other way that, you know, and so how could anything helpful be taught if it's actually coming from a fearful place? It's impossible.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you know, when we say that the spirit's use of the body is for communication, and in the lesson, I believe it is 154, I'm among ministers of God, and it talks about messengers of God, and it says, you know, the messenger of God is different than the messenger in this world in one thing, that they both deliver message, but the difference is that messenger of God, the message is for the messenger first, before the messenger delivers it. And so in a way, even though we keep saying we are here to communicate or to deliver a message, we also have to remember, you know, this message, what we're delivering is this attitude. And the message cannot be delivered if we haven't learned it. The message cannot be delivered just through words. We have to learn it first. We have to accept it and become it. Then we become the message. That's, you know, that's the gift. That's how we become a messenger of God, is by embracing and become the message first. So in that way, even on this way towards complete forgiveness, because the Course says that the final goal of this course, of this curriculum, is forgiveness. It's not anything beyond it. You know, anything beyond it is for God to take the last step. But just for the purpose of this course and achieve complete forgiveness or revelation, we are communicating or we're delivering ourselves. That's truly who we are, and we don't have to jump ahead to say this is what I am experientially, but I'm going to deliver a message that's not my experience right now, but that's what I read from the book or what I heard from other people. Just even have this confidence that who you are is the gift and who you are is the message, and dare to be so authentic. Just to be authentic and allow your true light shine through, and that is the use of the body.
That is beautiful, and that's so clear. I loved what you said just a little bit earlier there. I kind of had the thought of when Jesus talks about prayer in the Course, and when you were saying that, the words really aren't, I forget how you said it, but in a way it's like the words aren't really even that important. It's what's behind the words, or what's almost like where the words are coming from. And, if it was simply just saying, I think he actually says that in that lesson, I want the peace of God. It's kind of like, anybody can say it, but to mean it is a whole other thing. It's not, the healing's not coming from the words. I'm sort of reminded of even when he talks about prayer and how to pray, he says something like, the Spirit doesn't understand words. It doesn't even matter. It's what's in the heart. Like, what is it? What is it that I'm really asking for? Really, what is it I'm asking for? Because that is always answered, and I only need to look at what seems to be showing up in my life to see what it is that I am asking for. And that would help me to even get more authentic. If there's a question of saying, but I keep asking for Spirit and nothing's showing, it's like, well, I keep asking for peace. Well, really, what is it? If I'm getting all these other types of experiences, then there must be something else that I'm desiring. There must be something else that I'm asking for. The prayer of my heart must be something other than peace if I'm experiencing something other than that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, that's it. If the experience is still split, they're like, some peace and some not peace, like just the desire is split. I don't want the peace of God fully. I want something else, like, pleasure attack. And then I experience that.
It's actually it is just simple, isn't it? Like to be honest, I find often the most simple instructions that I hear or that Jesus has given, say, are often the most helpful. Like something like that, ask and you shall receive. I mean, he's telling me that ask, it's like there's no well, ask and sometimes you'll receive it. No, it can't be. If God was just partially responding or helping in a partial way, it's not. That's our projection onto God or onto our parents, or we think we're not worthy, or we can't fully receive everything now. But that's such a simple instruction, and such a clear instruction that ask truly, and you will receive. And the answer must always be instantaneous as well. There wouldn't be a time lapse between the asking and the receiving. That would just be that would be a cruel God that would it's just it's ridiculous. absolute ball again talking to you, Francis. I feel like my questions may have reached and I'm not aware of any more. Did you have anything else coming to you around the topic, or how does that feel with you?
I feel pretty good. I feel, I don't have anything else on my mind right now.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's just found it very helpful and very just very clear and very helpful and very beautiful again to join with you and just to sort of go. Feels like just really to go deeply into these areas and just to sort of go into the mind. You know, it feels. I just for myself, it just feels so helpful, and I so appreciate this, Francis. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
That's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
And I love you.
Thank you. Love you too.